Odin, great talk. Great. I really appreciated you sharing some. Well, Odin has been at Amex for what? Maybe, what did you say? What was your amount of time, Odin?
3 years.
Oh, wow. Welcome to the world of you're older than I am. I joined Cerner 60 days ago, and it's definitely been a whirlwind. I'm very excited. I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I've had the luxury of actually living in 7 countries, working in 6 of those countries, in addition to working in finance, mortgage services, entertainment, health, and technology. So I really have a different platform. My platform is really always about economy. How can you be economic in everything you do? And I think part of that drives from the fact that I'm also a Six Sigma black belt. So I do look for improvements wherever and whenever. So it's a great marriage between that and also being an Agilist. I'm a practicing product owner and Scrum Master. So I really want to ensure that anything that is utilized within a corporation has value. So my presentation will really be looking at the idea of what we have in terms of value for the organization when it comes to tools. So please, I do hope you enjoy it. I was really trying to play on some concepts. So I really wanted to make sure that we would understand exactly what's needed in a corporation. So before I go on, I want to tell you a little bit about Cerner. Cerner is an awesome company. We're 27,000 strong associates, and we have over 500 patents worldwide. In addition to that, we consider ourselves the intersection between healthcare and technology. So it's really exciting because we are going to revolutionize healthcare. And I'll also put this sidebar, which is COVID has given us a lot of opportunities with some of the regulatory changes that are happening that are allowing for more sharing of data. So more to come on that. So I'm hoping that this adds value, and I'm looking forward to some of the questions. And so I'm just going to share one slide with you so you can kind of really get an idea of the conversation. So hopefully you can follow along. So can you see my screen, everyone? Wait, wrong one, sorry. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes.
What are you seeing?
The interaction of things.
That is brilliant, excellent. And so this is what we're going to be talking about today. So when putting together this kind of, I think, insight into what's happening at Cerner and my thoughts in terms of what does tooling really mean, I really started to focus in on one construct, which is organizations should drive their tool choices based on ROI, and kind of playing on the idea of return on interaction, hence the interaction of things. Having a tool that doesn't offer best practices and doesn't offer the things you need really is not of value. It's basically something that is not going to allow you to get where you need to be and where you need to be fast. So with that, when I think about what's happening, I also want to tell you a little bit about what's happening at Cerner. As with every company, COVID has changed so much. We had a lot of headwinds and tailwinds. And at Cerner, we've had a balance of both. As a company, we've really been able to shift our perspective very quickly. And we start to focus now on inside out and outside in parallel. What that means basically is that we are really ensuring that we are communicating and engaging and partnering with our clients, customers, and communities. And when I said we were about 27 strong, at Cerner, we don't see ourselves outside of the community. We are about the community. So our model is more of a, inclusive partnership model, from clients to colleagues, so forth. So I also wanted to say that what's even more interesting, which is one of the reasons why I was brought on board, is that we're going through massive transformations. And one of them is the Agile transformation. At Cerner, we are moving to 500 scaled Agile teams. Can you imagine? 500. And we're spreading that across the 10 business groups across the world. So this is definitely an adventure. I can tell you that I was 10 pounds lighter 60 days ago. And it's really been interesting as we're making some of these choices and as we assign decisions based on what we want as our end state and true north, we're starting to really see the need for tools being reevaluated. Even if the tool was considered best practice, is this tool the best practice for this new order that we are creating? So the other thing that I thought that was really interesting is that when we think about what we chose as our scaling tool, which is very, very important, we looked at the effective management. We looked at the performance and collaboration tools that would be needed. And to be honest with you, it was a vital part of the decision moving forward because it also actually impacted our scaling decision in terms of the framework. Never have a tool drive your process, but as we're getting more into interactive strategic tool world, we know that some of these tools can enhance your business processes. So it's really good to respect that and go away with the old idea that tools do not drive process. If somebody thinks they know something, somehow they do because they actually are having return on investment. So maybe they know a little bit about how the business process should work. So you have to be agile in your thought and reinvent the idea in your mind that tools can help drive process. So that was one real mind shift that I had to really drive to the team. And I'll explain to you why that's even more important when I talk about some of the benefits of the things that we did. So with that now, let's go back to ROI, which is return on interaction. When I think about return on interaction, I'm thinking about really the idea of the traditional ROI, which is return on investment, which is the ratio between real profit and the cost of the cost of the investment. So think about this. Return on interactions formula could look like something that seems to be ratio between communication outcomes and the cost of investment, tools, even the concept of full utilization of features and capabilities, not to mention the effort involved the tool. So let's stop for a second and think about that. Interaction. What are you getting? What is the cost that you have to pay when you are spending money on a tool and you're not using all the features and all the components? I would assume that, to me, that would be a reduction in your ROI. So looking at things differently and spinning things to the point where you're looking at things in terms of optimal, not only the fact that it's going to provide this collaborative approach, but really what is the measurement? This is my Six Sigma hat coming back, which is data driven. So as I'm playing around with this construct, I'm thinking, okay, well, what could we do? How could we fix this? How do we measure this? Well, you know that there are 4 types of communication. There's verbal, nonverbal, written, and visual. And I would say sometimes the nonverbal is even stronger. Tools that are now important in terms of the Agile world, they need to encompass all of these key communications fundamentals with one key adjustment. They have to be centered around collaboration as its core. All the decisions you make in terms of a tool needs to really reflect the fact, moving towards an Agile environment, collaboration is what you call the centric model in terms of how you're successful as an Agile team. So again, communication, the 4 principles really aligned to the idea that collaboration should be king and should be queen. Interesting enough, I wanted to kind of get a little bit scientific. So I went to Wikipedia. Who doesn't go there? Totally fun. And I looked up what is collaboration. So at Wikipedia, they say collaboration basically is something that happens when 2 groups of people basically are working together to accomplish a common goal. And when we talk about collaboration tools, they're what helps the individuals to collaborate. So, okay, that sounds great. They also said that collaboration can have something that's non-technical, such as paper and flip charts, Post-its, or whiteboards, in addition to software tools, which is really kind of interesting. So let's look at the non-technical tools. So prior to COVID-19, these physical tools, such as paper, flip charts, were utilized by most. You know, tools were also starting to mirror these practices, and really, it was exciting. And we all know that it was very exciting, but there was a cost. You would create a wonderful flowchart. You would put together an amazing story map. And then guess what you had to do? You'd have to take that and then input it into another structured tool. So again, another reduction in terms of the value of a collaborative tool. So really want to think about, again, how this is adapting us to the point where we need to look at the return on interaction. How much effort does it take for you to use the tool if that tool then has to go to another tool, So looking at that and not really accepting that will really put you in a situation where you have multiple tools, which is not healthy for any kind of Agile environment. You're going to have to make a decision. And that's some of the hardest things because there are legacy thoughts. There are individuals who are, married to certain tools. And it's really something that when we're doing a transformation, we tend to forget. So in a big context, when we think about the old change management, it used to be people, process, and technology. When we talk about transformation in the productized world, we call it people, process, and products, the 3 Ps. So it's also that mind shift of recognizing that while technology is important, we don't want to lose that, but you have to think about how that technology interacts with the product, the people, and the process. And that's the new paradigm shift that I'm trying to introduce to my team. So with that, at Cerner and other companies, major exciting things are happening. You could be in a meeting and all of a sudden you have an instant polling. During that meeting, you get instant reaction. Speaking with a client, working with a client group, partner groups, you can also get instant polling. You can get a real interaction in terms of, I said this to you, what have I said? Please let me know if you understand. That is really excellent when it comes to the chat, the 3-way chat. Next is we also see rapid communication in terms of forms. Imagine that you can actually, after a session, throw feedback, get it within 5 minutes. Even when you're doing a multiple tiered session, you could have feedback in the first half, so you can adjust and start to move into something that we like to call the lean cafe approach, which is having the participants be part of driving the content flow. The other thing that's really interesting is that you have to recognize something that's amazingly cool, which is the interconnectivity and communication flow as we are looking at one tool as it interacts with another tool. And then the other thing that I think is a big important thing, imagine that we at Cerner made a decision on our scaling tool based on a few cool things. One is the interoperability, but one that I know that they knew that was really great is the fact that we have OKRs based into our new scaling tool, which means we can get it, we can monitor it, and we can assign it. So imagine now we're moving from not only the Agile delivery, we're now moving into performance management. That is extremely exciting. So I have to say, when and if you're not at the journey where you're making a scaling tool, look at this in the Agile mindset. How can I make sure that I am maximizing my interactions and making sure that the value of the tool has value? So with that, I want to talk some quick pieces, and then I'll definitely close. With our concept of inside out, we have been able to utilize real quick response. We created, based on our internal process and the tools that we're using for collaboration, a enterprise strategy COVID kind of opportunity tracker. I could not believe how much traction we had very quickly. Imagine that we could identify an opportunity. That opportunity could be visible to partners, and we could basically then Agile it and make it customer-centric in terms of a decision. So that was really something that we are, and have to say, is something that we should be proud of. Okay, so as tools are moving towards conversion, I want to make sure that we remember that it's important to balance the ideal state and what's real. So I wanted to talk about some Agile anti-patterns. And I know I would love to be, daisies and roses and skipping through the field and saying that all tools are awesome and then we don't do things that aren't good behavior. So I wanted to address these to help you also make sure that you don't fall into some of these pits in terms of not delivering Agile effectively. One of them is that we started to see a brand new behavior, or maybe it's a reemergent of another behavior that we tried to knock out a few years ago. Emails, 20 long email exchanges. And I coined it to my boss, Tony. I said, oh my goodness, Tony, he's a printer. And basically that means the email is so long, the only way you're going to be able to digest it is to print it, circle it, and highlight. So this is happening beyond anything I've ever seen. We gave it up, and now with COVID, we started to do it again. So it's kind of interesting, and we've done it at force, which actually makes our organization move more to a centralized decision-making model, which is not very much Agile-ish. So that's one. Those things actually create a lot of muda and muri, which is of course the waste. The second one is we're starting to see context switching and also multitasking, and that's increasing dramatically. So I have to do a pulse check. I actually have to ask questions and put people on the spot to make sure that they're not in their bath, drinking champagne. And that is something that is really interesting. Odin, you like that, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. So that dynamic is really starting to explode. So one of the things that we have to start thinking about as we choose a tool is how are we going to ensure that we are not falling back into some, bad behaviors, and also going and making some anti-agile patterns. And then third, we're starting to see that at meetings, when someone's presenting or participants, they do not have their camera on. This could never happen at a face-to-face physical meeting. So this video to video is now becoming an opportunity to just be there, but not really be there. So I'm seeing that as a major challenge. And so I've started to institute some things, which if you send me your email, I will let you know, because I don't think I should announce it publicly. And it would also ruin the ability that I have to start building some behaviors that I'm trying to change. So really with that, I wanted to just really close and say that all of these Agile tools and methodologies and all of them, they do not work unless you're a team. So we need to continue to evolve around the choices in our collaboration tools and know how to use them. And I have this really interesting idea about solving a lot of these problems. Do you remember something, this kind of tool where all you have to do is pick up the phone and call someone? Yeah, you're never, ever going to be able to replace that. And finally, I'm going to leave you with the repeated construct. Organizations should drive their tool choices based on the return on interactions, hence the interaction of things. We should think about measuring the value of new strategic tools based on the ability to build meaningful interactions and support collaboration. So I want to thank everyone, and I hope you have a super rest of your day.